Hello and welcome to the Random Wrestling Review, and our local to global series continues here today. And we, in the last episode, got through two events, which I don't imagine we'll be lucky enough to do today. And so, what I might do is try and slow myself down ever so slightly, so that we can get this one event in that we're going to do today and do it in a bit more of an articulate way than has been the case once or twice, most recently. And you can see the big news story at the moment is Arn Anderson turning heel on Nitro in some kind of, must have been, an interview with Arn Anderson. And he defeated Chicky Star and Hugh Morris in the main event in a triple threat match to retain the World Heavyweight title. So WCW continues its strange universe that it's on, and Arn Anderson is currently the champion. Which, look, I'm not against Arn Anderson being a world champion, but maybe just not in 2000. Maybe a few years before this. Bam Bam Bigelow has joined the company, though, so that's a decent signing for them, and hopefully, they can build on that. For us, we have just obviously done our last show, which was No Remorse, which saw Mark Henry and Sean Stasiak defeat Dan Severn and Dave Batista in the main event. It also saw one of our best ever matches, CM Punk defeating Buddy Wayne to end their feud effectively. I'm not going to just yet finish that storyline because I have a feeling we might be able to use it one more time, at least before we kind of end it. Um, But there's a couple of things I'm gonna do. So the first thing is we're gonna make a new signing, another new signing, which is perhaps not right because we've already got a roster of 19 wrestlers, and I kind of said I was going to limit it to 18, but I've kind of just given up on that for the moment. I'm going to bring in Kenny Omega. Now, I'm actually not 100% happy with this in terms of a signing. I wanted someone, a younger wrestler, someone with a lot of potential, and obviously we know Kenny Omega has that, no doubt about it. But I wanted somebody a little tiny bit older, and there's just something about Kenny Omega I wasn't 100% sold on, but I'm going to go for it because I couldn't find a decent alternative. Plus, he's very cheap. So he's a freelancer and not looking to sign anybody for longer than 9 months. So that is a problem. I hadn't even tried. So instead, we're going to go for Eric Young, I think. This was a kind of backup that I had in mind, and I think we'll do that. I'm just trying to make sure that he's going to be available for us on the Mondays that we need him. He is. So Eric Young is now the person we turn to. Similar, same price, in fact, and a little bit older, which is better than is better in terms of aligning with what I want from this role. So we're going to try and sign Eric Young and see what happens there. We're also going to put in our next event, which is a pretty big one, actually. And we're going to name it after the main event, which we haven't done in some time. It's going to be RWR Severn versus Batista. That is the main event of this show. And I think it just felt like a really big match, felt like it warranted being named after the the show being named after that match, because it just felt like one of those big matches that we've kind of been waiting for a while, and that's because of where we are in terms of the rankings. So let's have a look at that before we move on. Actually, that's my mistake. Let's move on first, and then we can look at the rankings. So let's go to the next player. Hang on, before I go, I'm suffering from confidence here. Did I put that in correctly? Monday, week 4 of April. I think we've got full availability. We do. So let's go to our next player-controlled show. Yeah, and let me talk about the rankings. So here we are, and as you can see, we've got a little bit of a pile up towards the top of the rankings. Dan Severn is currently champion with 10 points, and Batista also has 10 points. And this has been the match that was being expected for a while. But in the meantime, Ace Steel has amassed 10 points as well. We've got Chris Adams on 9, although my current thinking is that I don't know how much longer Chris Adams will be with the company. I think he's going to survive the next couple of shows, but after that, that might be the end for him in terms of the roster. Mark Henry has 7 points, Billy Kidman 6, Charlie Haas and Buddy Wayne on 5, Rex King, CM Punk and CW Anderson on 4, Teddy Hart, Chemo, Keith Hart on 3, ECMO 2, James Storm, Barry Buchanan and Sean Stasiak on 1, and Chris Harris on 0. Of course, Chris Harris debuted on our last show, and in the midst of doing so, led down for James Storm for the deliberate loss to enable James Storm to get a point on the board. Chris Harris having been brought in seemingly by Bruce Hart to try and give James Storm another difficult challenge. So we can complete the signing of Eric Young. That's all very well and good, and there's nothing major in the store in the news. So we're going to go on to the next player controlled show as we were before. So yeah, Dan Severn versus Dave Batista, main event of our next show. Pretty big happening as we've said before, and yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting show. I've got a lot of a few little plans here. In fact, I've got a couple of plans that lead all the way through to the lottery brawl, which is going to be, I've decided, the second show in May. So there's going to be this show, then the first show in May, and then there will be a second show in May, which will be the lottery brawl, which is always has been a kind of fixture in the calendar now of the Random Wrestling Review for a few years. So yeah, and obviously the winner of that lottery brawl gets 5 points in the ranking system, which is a pretty big deal. So yeah, I'm looking at Dan Severn versus Dave Batista. I've got high hopes for their match. Dan Severn hasn't been fantastic all of the time as the champion, but his matches haven't been bad. Batista's been one of the top performers for the company for a while, and of course these two feel like two of the bigger stars in the company. So a rise request from CM Punk. I think we'll give him some money. Yeah, why not give him some extra money? He's been really good. Let's just have a look at where we are actually in terms of pay. Chemo remains our highest paid wrestler. We've also got Patterson, our road agent, is pretty high in terms of his salary. This is one of the reasons why I'm going to cut Chris Adams. Like, I just don't think we're getting value for that 250 per show. He's not particularly great. He can't really go for very long. Um, yeah, I just don't think he's going to be sticking around. And you got Rex King, Dan Severn, Woman, Chris Harris, and then CM Punk is moved up here following that signing of a new contract. Buddy Wayne's still on $60 per show, and I just feel like, why don't you ask for some more money, buddy? You're pretty important to the company. Um, Again, I feel like the game a little bit in terms of the way it works out who should ask for more money factors in a little bit too much their performances and should factor in more as well their popularity and their significance to the company. Jim Duggan going under surgery. We move on because we have got our show to run. RWR Severn versus Batista. Um, I think it's tonight. Yeah, I think that's right. It is. Let's do it. So here we go then. RWR Severn versus Batista. Well, we know the main event, but let's go into the show as a whole and talk about what we're going to do here. So the opening contest is going to be a one-on-one match, which is going to feature CM Punk against Eric Young. I was trying to put Kenny Omega in then, but obviously he's not with us. Which actually I don't mind. I think this is actually I'm actually preferring this actually, which is a strange thing to do. So it's going to go 7 minutes. Punk's going to win. He's going to have a decisive win. We're going to have him win by submission as well. Or rather, work the crowd as the reason for the match. And after the match, I want Eric Young to what options have I got here? Funny, now I'm playing TEW9 simultaneously with this game. I'm forgetting that there are less options here. I think what I'll do, I'll just have it overness, I think. And CM Punk can be overness as well. Basically, what's going to happen is Eric Young offers Punk a handshake, being the respectful kind of rookie that he effectively is in terms of our world anyway. And Punk ignores him and walks off. That's what we're doing there. Just a little nugget of something. It may never turn into anything, um, but I've got like a little idea. There's a little tiny little breadcrumb of an idea there that I might follow through on, but not for some time anyway. So the next match is going to see the first match of James Storm and Chris Harris, and they're going to go up against Keith and Teddy Hart in a tag team match, which we are unsurprisingly going to have Chris Harris and James Storm win. Harris will get the pinfall here, I think, against Teddy. And let's make that a pinfall finish. I'm also going to create a team here. They are going to be called the Mavericks. Now, this is about a bit of a callback to um, the fact that I had them as the American Mavericks in WCW, and yeah, I thought that I would use the name again, to be honest. So we're calling them the Mavericks. James Storm and Chris Harris. They will take on Keith Hart and Teddy Hart. Then we have a singles match, which is going to be Buddy Wayne versus Chris Adams. I don't want anything specifically interesting to happen here. Um, I'm not even sure how long the match is going to go. It has got Chris Adams in it, which means I'm not eager to make it too long. But yeah, basically it's going to be overmatched, but Chris Adams is going to lose. Pinfall victory. We'll have a storytelling element to this one as well, just to give it something else. Chris Adams is unhappy. I'm a little bit disinclined to worry about that. We will keep him strong in this one. Um, I mean, if he's, I will say this, and this is a bit of a spoiler for the future, but if he's worried about doing the job to Buddy Wayne, one of the most important wrestlers in company history, then I hate to see what he's going to think about the next match I have him fight. Anyway, Chris Adams is not expected to be able to go for very long, and this is my issue. He's got no stamina. It's the quality of in ring has not been bad, but not been like out of this world or anything. He's quite expensive, and to be honest, I at one point had sort of plans for him to be a contender for the title, but maybe not a champion, but certainly a contender. But I just feel like even that is not something I'm really that eager to proceed with now. So yeah, Buddy Wayne versus Chris Adams with Buddy Wayne coming out on top. Then we're going to add an angle. We're just going to see Ace Steel talking about Dan Severn. Um, Ace Steel says his destiny to be Northwest champion is nearing, and this time he'll win it for the rebellion. Can't do it. This time he'll win it. It's fine. Um, Make that 6 minutes. So this is basically Ace Steel saying that I've got 10 points. The champion is facing the number one contender tonight, and I'm going to win. And then whoever wins that, I'm going to face, and I'm going to win the title for the rebellion. The rebellion are then in 6-man tag action. That's right. It's going to be Ace Steel, Chemo, and ECMO against Charlie Haas, C.W. Anderson, and Billy Kidman. But the problems for the rebellion are going to go on. We saw in the last show, Samoan Violence Connection have some issues in terms of miscommunication. Well, Charlie Haas is going to get the win in this one, and he's going to pin. Ace Steel. I think it's going to be a flash pinfall finish and a distraction finish. If I can do this, sometimes this doesn't work because I'm trying to do it with people in the match. Let's just see if that is a problem. I'm just going to see if I can do this. Oh, it will allow me to do that. So yeah, effectively what's going to happen is that there's going to be another bit of miscommunication. Can we do miscommunication without a miscommunication finish? So I've got the miscommunication finish. Can't just do miscommunication, which is frustrating. But basically, it's going to be a little bit of a miscommunication between the Samoan Violence Connection again. And then Ace Steel's going to be distracted by the pair of them they're arguing, basically. Or maybe not arguing is probably a too strong a word. It'll be bickering about it. And Charlie Haas is going to pop up from behind, roll him up, and get the victory for his team. Then after the match, we're going to see Ace Steel. Can we do acting yet? ECMO and Chemo. A-Steel shouts at ECMO for costing their team the match. Chemo plays Peacemaker. So just a short little segment there where A-Steel's angry about the loss and has a go at ECMO, and then Chemo kind of breaks them up from, fighting. And then we have our main event, and it is Dan Severn versus Dave Batista, a match that we've been waiting for some time. What do we do here? I think we're going to have to do the 15-minute with the slow build, which is the domain of Dan Severn, because he can't go any less than that. Sorry, he can't go any longer than 10 minutes unless we put a slow build in, but the slow build doesn't work unless it's 15 minutes at least. So, and 15 minutes is also the limit of the length our audience are willing to watch a match. So it's kind of just, it has to be 15 minutes with a slow build for Dan Severn. In terms of who's going to win, well, we're not going to get a winner. We're going to get a draw. It's going to be a double DQ finish. And it's going to be an outside interference finish when Dan Severn is attacked by Shawn Stasiak and Dave Batista is attacked by Mark Henry. So they do not allow the match to finish as should have happened. And then after the match, Mark Henry and Shawn Stasiak are going to beat Dave Batista and Severn down. Is that a little bit of a anticlimax to this match, this long anticipated match? Maybe, but that's how we're going with it. And they're going to stand tall to end the show. So we'll make 6 minutes is fine, I think. Don't want to overdo it. So let's just check storylines wise. We've not got anything for that. We don't need to continue it on. It last. Something happened at No Remorse. Something happened here at No Remorse as well, and we've got Teddy Hart at the story anyway, so that's going to be continued. That's going to be continued. This one's not going to be continued, and hasn't been continued for a while. I'm tempted to end this story now, even though I kind of forgot about it, if I'm honest, for this one. We did have a match where Rex King got his win back. Rex King's not even on this show, so I think we're going to end that story. Then we've got Shawn Stasiak versus Dan Severn, which will also continue. Are there any other stories I want to do anything with here? I don't think so. Just wondering whether or not we will add a storyline. The rebellion implodes? Question mark. And I put a question mark not because of trying to be mysterious, but actually because I genuinely don't know what's going to happen there yet. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know what we're doing with it. It's just a thing that I've put into motion, and the story will tell itself ultimately. Leaving a few people off the show, but I think that's fine. I mean, it is fine. I've turned off the issues with that. We're not going to be penalised. The booking analysis is fine, I think. So we're ready to go with this show, and let's do it. So this is in front of 114 people. So again, our best ever attendance for a paid crowd anyway. And CM Punk in the opener defeats Eric Young in 7:29 by submission. Eric Young's first match for the company. Punk has an in-ring performance of 40. Eric Young a 17. And Eric Young is a heel, which is a mistake by me entirely. So that was really silly from me. Yeah, disappointed by that. In fact, I might see if I can turn him now. I know this is really not a good way of doing things, but how about we just do that and we change his gimmick here to underdog. How about rookie? Yeah, let's just call him rookie. That's better, I think, actually. We're going to go with realistic for this, and we're going to push the boundary just a little bit. So he's going to be rookie, and he's going to go. He's going to go babyface. We may even address it. Should we address it in this match? I think we will. I know this is going to mean that he's, it's too rushed, and he's not going to like it because it's going to mess him up right from the get go. But that was my mistake. And we'll just live with it. We'll delete it basically. So after the match, Eric Young offers CM Punk a handshake, um, and Punk ignores him and walks off. We're going to handle the changes. Apparently, already this is bombed. Too many of your recent turns. The turn was a complete disaster. Fine, that wasn't great. Mistake on my part, admin error rather than anything else. Apologies. Eric Young should have gone in to this as a babyface. Anyway, segment arena 25, and Punk walks off, ignoring Eric Young. So then we have the tag team match, which is the Mavericks versus Keith Hart and Teddy Hart. The Mavericks get their first victory as a tag team in the Random Wrestling Review in 10 minutes and 19 seconds when Harris pins Teddy Hart. James Storm was the best performer in the match with a 42, but you can see here Chris Harris already at 32, so he's in a good place in terms of his quality already. And meanwhile, Teddy Hart had a 31, so he's improving. And Keith Hart was actually sort of dragged up a little bit in terms of his performance for this match too. So in all, this was good performances all around. Segment rating of 39. Woman continues to do good work at ringside, and I'm wondering whether I may also add her as manager of Chris Harris as well as James Storm. Then we had Buddy Wayne versus Chris Adams in another match that was all right. 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Wayne wins by pinfall. Segment rating of 38. Buddy Wayne was a 40 rated in this match, but Chris Adams was off his game and was visibly tiring towards the end. Wasn't enthusiastic in the first place about doing the job, and kind of showed that presumably in the match. Not the best, but not terrible, not a disaster in any way. A segment rating of 38 for this one. After this, Ace Steel comes out and says that it is his destiny to be the Northwest champion, and he says that time is nearing. And he says this time, after the previous attempts that he's had to win the title, he's going to do it, and he'll do it for the Rebellion. So segment rating for 36 here, as Ace Steel sets out his kind of ambition to become the RWR Northwest champion now that he's right near the top of the rankings. The six-man tag match that follows is again a segment rating of 38, so we're sort of stuck around the high 30s. Hopefully, Severn versus Batista will be better than this. It ends in 13 minutes and 30 seconds when Charlie House pins Ace Steel after being distracted by Chemo and ECMO. So, Chemo had an in-ring performance of 42, ECMO 24, Ace Steel an in-ring performance of 37, Kidman a 31, Anderson a 34, Charlie Haas a 47. Charlie Haas gets better and better with nearly every performance. This kicked off the Rebellion Implodes storyline, and ECMO seemed off of his game. In fact, 24 is way less than he would normally do. Happy with everyone else's performances, though. Then after the match, Ace Steel has a go at he has a go at ECMO for costing them the match, and Chemo tries to keep the peace between the two before things get particularly nasty. Ace Steel apparently poor here when trying to improvise dialogue, but nevertheless, this continued this new storyline. And ECMO and Chemo apparently both did well during this angle. So a segment rating of 33 is not too bad. And then we move to the main event, and it wasn't a good match at all. A 33 rated match. Everybody really, both wrestlers, Dave Batista's capable of so much more than that. Dan Severn's capable of a bit more. A double disqualification, maybe that's the issue. I don't know. This was not what I was hoping for when both were attacked by Mark Henry and Sean Stasiak here. Although, again, what's fascinating is that even though I put both of them in to interfere, there is no mention of it, and that has meant that the storyline hasn't been invoked. So I wonder if that's the issue: is that the storyline between of all the people that are involved just didn't add to the heat. So a real shame there. Anyway, they draw in 15:29 following a double disqualification. Neither man performing really as I think they can for a segment rating of 33. Then after the match, Mark Henry and Sean Stasiak continue their attack on Dan Severn and Dave Batista. And they stand tall at the end of the show with a segment rating of 37. This final angle actually does deliver, but all in all, a disappointing show. Severn versus Batista, and yeah, some things to work on there, but ultimately, um, it won't matter too much. We increase our popularity as we do for every single show. Now, in terms of who, who I'm going to credit here, is going to be, first of all, I think we have to credit Charlie Haas because of his performance. I'm going to do the same for CM Punk. And then, in addition to them, I think we'll go with James Storm. Those were the three best performers on the show. So why complicate things? So yeah, disappointment really. In terms of that show, we were hoping for so much more. Um, it happens, I suppose. The feedback's been very positive anyway. I suppose we've gone up in size again. But where does that sit on our top 100 list, first of all? I imagine pretty low down. It's not even on the front page. 24th best show of all time with a 35 rating. Yeah, disappointing in the extreme given where we've just come from as well, the Golden Triangle tournament and all of that stuff. No Remorse was fifth best show of all time. In terms of matches, was there anything on this one that made it anywhere near the top? Because nothing really seemed to work, really. I mean, the main event was poor by comparison to what we've seen in the past, but nothing was really at the sort of level I would be hoping for by this point. I don't think I'm seeing anything. I may have missed, obviously it could be an oversight, but I'm not seeing anything yet. So the Mavericks versus Keith Hart and Teddy Hart was the best match on the show, and it's 48th best match in company history. In terms of titles, so obviously Dan Severn now has 8 successful title defenses, although that one was a draw. The prestige of this one stayed at 32 pretty much through. Well, it did increase a little bit through the early points of Dan Severn's title reign, but since then it has stalled. And so yeah, that was a disappointment. And we'll have to address some of that. Before I go into some of the news, I will put in now the next event, which is obviously the first one in May. And I think we're just going to call it the RWR Spring Party. Although, I mean, technically in May, it's probably a little bit late for calling something in fact, it can't be the Spring Party because we need to come up with a pun on the word May. That was one of the rules I put in place from a very early point in this series. So we have to come up with something that's got May in the title. So what am I going to call this one? Um, that's not great, is it? Okay, well we won't put in that name just yet. We won't add that event just yet because we we need to change the name. The news, of course, that's coming through though is that WWE have ended their agreement with New Japan. Um, so they had a no stealing agreement in place, and apparently now that is now not the case, with WCW officials having sent word to their New Japan counterparts that that part of the deal was no longer in force. Maybe this is how WCW are seeing their way to restocking their talent banks by trying to take some wrestlers from New Japan because, as we said, that their roster is looking really poor. New Japan are really dropping down as well. They're down to seventh. They've on their roster. Let's have a look at who they've got as biggest stars here. So Hashimoto, Misawa. Who's this? I'm not even sure who that is. Chono, Scott Steiner, obviously, and Hayabusa, I think that is. So, okay. So maybe they're after some of those talents. I mean, Scott Steiner would be a very valuable addition to that roster, as would Misawa, of course, and others, in that list. So, and they do need WCW need a boost. Although, look at New Japan are really low down, which is really strange to see them so low down behind some of those other companies. So yeah, that's our show for today. A little bit of a disappointment in terms of the event that we put on, but as I said, sometimes that happens. Financially, I think this is quite important. We are losing money at the moment. We lost over 1,000 last time. It looks like we're going to lose something similar this time, maybe a little bit less than 1,000 once we get to the end of the month and we've got all of our sponsorship money in. Just wanted to check actually in terms of the event and attendance. So it was Not our best attendance, not our best paid attendance. It was our second best paid attendance after No Remorse. The other April show. So both those April shows have got more ticket sales than usual, which might help us financially. But anyway, that is everything. I've got go away, think about what we're going to call our next show, and then we'll be back with you very shortly. So thank you very much for watching.